and courage. Welcome to Liberty X Happy Hour. Whoa. Welcome to Liberty X Happy Hour.
So everybody, welcome to the fourth episode of Liberty X Happy Hour. Tonight's exactly why we created this show, just as Fido said. There are so many voices on X that people recognize, but they don't really always know that person, that individual behind the account. And I know that on Spaces lately, we're hearing all this division in politics. We're hearing division in our government. We're hearing division in our Congress with important issues like the Save America Act. We're seeing tons of division even here at home in our own home state where Fido and I both live. So we decided we really want to create Liberty X Happy Hour to go a little bit behind that, right? Let's bring people together so that we get people to know the person behind the account, the humanity behind all of the individuals that put in so much effort into X, into growing their following here, or perhaps growing a podcast here, or if you're Shell, working your bottom off for so many different causes. I mean, the list goes on about all the things that, all the conversations that Shell's involved in her life. So if you want to jump in here at Liberty X, we do things just a tad different than other spaces. First, we interview and we center everything around a guest or a few guests. Then after that, we go and give our audience a chance at the end to come up and ask questions, comment. Maybe, and with Shell, most of you guys know her, so you don't need a lot of introduction to her. So maybe you just want to come up at the end and share a story about her. And I'm so grateful that Allie has taken a speaker spot up here because I'm sure she can share some fun stories about our friend Shell. I first got to know Shell about a year and a half ago when I first started getting involved in spaces. And it's been a relentless thing for her since then. She gets up every day. She shows up. She shows up for Rob Maness. She shows up for Punch Bowl. I've seen her launch shows like The Reckoning and really lift that thing off of the ground and give it some wings to fly. And that's one thing that she's frankly helped us here with at Liberty X, even early on. In fact, my particular Shell story is interesting because the very first time I ever got into space, guess who was there? It was Shell. I have a recording of that, Shell. And you jumped into space with me because I did not know what I was doing. And it was funny because I was scrolling back through my spaces the other day to see previous recordings and I re-listened to it. And I remember you explaining to me what is the purple pill and why the purple pill goes away and all of these things, right? And so I'm sure some of you guys have those tonight. So when we get to that part of the space tonight, we got a few simple rules in here, not a ton. Raise your hand. Don't unmute until we call on you because I swear if Shell's eye twitches in this space, I'm going to remove you like you've never been removed from a space. It's just not going to happen here. And then don't talk over each other. Keep it brief. We're going to run right up until about 8 o'clock. At the very end, we've got a few things planned tonight that's a little different than we've done in past weeks. But make sure that you always keep it respectful. We'll listen to you, right? And if anybody in here knows better than how to redirect a conversation in a positive direction, it's probably Shell. But tonight's not about that. We're not going to ask her to do that. We're just going to ask her to tell us about herself. So if you get disrespectful, use profanity. And the biggest thing with all three of us here at Liberty X, Bland, Fido, and myself, don't use the Lord's name in vain because I will instantly remove you. So it's pretty simple. So let's go ahead and get on to it. Fido told you a little bit about himself real quick, but here our crew at Liberty X, we do have Fido, who happens to be my best friend in real life. He is that kind warrior. So if you're going to come up and ask a question, it's pretty much etiquette on spaces. If you don't know, follow the host, follow the co-hosts. Fido spent 20 years in the Navy as a commander and a fighter pilot. As he mentioned just a few minutes ago, he focuses now on supporting veterans, raising awareness around PTSD and mental health issues. He's also very much interested, like Bland and myself, in book authors, which we're going to have a pretty interesting announcement at the end of today's space. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a lot of book authors on. And so Land of Illusion, if you follow her account, you'll see she keeps a very close eye on politics. She's the one who creates all the wonderful graphics for this space. She's coordinating all of our song and the intro and outro of our show. As is my buddy Jordan Thomas, who has now sang on almost every episode here at Liberty X Happy Hour. He either sings us in or sings us out, and it's always a prayer and a little mark of Jesus and who we are in this space. We are Christians, and we like to portray that and live that out in this space at the very end. So we'll close things out in prayer, we'll close things out in song, and wish everyone well. And as for me, I'm Iron Patriot. I've spent most of my life in some form of education. I love reading books, history, and having real conversations that matter. And that is what we are about. So if you know book authors, send them my way. If you know veterans, if you know people at the heart of PTSD issues, send them my way or send them Fido's way. And if you know people who are book authors, especially if it's women's books, send them Lance way, and she will help coordinate a space with them on our schedule. We're pretty booked up through April, I believe, at the end of April now. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and get going with tonight and introduce our guest, who really doesn't need any introductions. I've already talked to you about her voice, but we hear mostly about what she does. She posts a mix of inspirational things, funny content, but she's really here to be a space host. And that's honestly, that's where she shines. And it's really rare to see one who's able to herd the wildcats that she herds every single day. But she shored that up like a pro. So Shell, or as she's known here, ChelleShocked, if you don't know her, she's literally always on a space. If you're on X and you turn on notifications for her, you're probably going to get a bunch of purple boxes in your notification feed because she is on Spaces. She hosts the Rob Maness Show every Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock. She also hosts her own show, Shell Shocked, in her own spaces when she's not busy in other conversations. And she often co hosts the Punch Bowl every Monday through Friday from 8 to 11 with Bishop, Marco, Dr. Cat, Jay, and so many others. So if you don't see her there, you can almost guarantee she's speaking in some space of importance, whether that be with Senator Mike Lee the last several nights in the Save America Act, or in some sort of veteran spaces. You will see her there and you'll be able to talk to her there. And I know many great space hosts and hosts on X, but I don't really think there's any that really compare to Shell. That's my personal opinion. And this is my space, so I get to say that, right? If you disagree with that, then you have your own space and you say that there. But I think Shell is the queen of spaces. And if you want to call this the ultimate synth, then you call it whatever in the heck you want to call it, because I don't really care. I call talent like I see it. So welcome, Shell Shocked. How are you tonight? And then we'll get going with the interview.
I am doing fantastic. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm very humbled and very honored.
I think that we are all the ones to be honored, but I think Fido is going to go ahead and kick off our interview tonight.
Absolutely. Welcome, Shell. So I'll just kick it off here. So, for the people who just know your voice but don't really know your story, can you tell our audience a little bit more about who is Shell? What was your family life growing up? Who were you before you started doing this crazy thing we call X? And was there some kind of moment in your life that shifted where you realized you just wanted to start speaking up? And then what drove you to this?
Well, I was raised in Clovis, California, and had some of the best parents ever. They taught me my best lessons, my dad mainly. He used to catch me in fibs, and he would look at me and he would say, "I see," said the blind man. And the man with no legs got up and walked away. And it broke me from fibbing to him at about 10 years old. I didn't want to be caught like that anymore. Another lesson that he taught me was I can do anything. He used to sit with me on the back patio and he'd look at me and say, "You know, Shelley, you can do anything, right? You know that, right?" And I believed him. And I did. I did a lot of things. Not only, after high school, I went to Fresno State. I had gotten married. I had two beautiful children at that time. And then I got into, I studied English and, I majored in English and I minored in journalism. And I didn't use it right away. I went straight into the restaurant business after that for 26 years. And I ended up owning my own restaurant. Had quite a stint at one of my favorite ones called the Waffle Inn, where I got in a lot of trouble and did a little scrapping. and just met some of the best people on the planet in Southeast Arkansas. I moved from California about 1991, and I've never moved back. But it's been quite the ride for me. Drove a truck for 9 years, team drove and solo, and it was just an amazing ride. Everything was amazing for me. I had my ups. I've been through a lot, but here I am. I don't know what else to say. My dad said I'd do anything, and I did. So there.
I love that, Shell. A lot of what you said goes into what I was going to ask you, actually. And it's about the faith that you have. I see it in a lot of your posts. You have a lot of faith and purpose. And I wanted to know, well, you kind of answered that, but where does that come from? And I, too, can relate to that with my dad. And has it always been a part of your life, or was it just a moment that has shaped you, where it shaped it?
There was a moment that shaped it. I'll tell you a little story. My parents weren't big churchgoers. They were raised up Catholic. My dad went to parochial school all his life. My mother, of course, being in a Mexican family, was raised up Catholic. But there was a time when I was 14 years old, I had a dream. And even today, I don't think it was a dream, to be honest with you. I think it happened. But I opened my eyes in the middle of the night, and the next thing I know, I was standing in the foyer of our home, and I was looking up at Christ. And he was speaking to me in a language that I had never heard it before, but I understood every word he said. And he had me look through the walls, down the halls, and I saw my bedroom, and I saw these shelves going up on the walls. And then I saw these gold letter Bibles lining up the shelves. And I looked down, and in my hands, I was holding this humongous sword. And I didn't understand it, to be honest with you. I woke up. I went to school that day and was sitting on the amphitheater of my high school. And a friend of mine, Keith Walker, I'll never forget him. He always carried a Bible with him around his school. He came and sat next to me, and he put that Bible in his lap, and he looked at me and he said, "What's up, Shelley?" He said, "You look bothered." And I was like, "Whoa." And I looked at his Bible and I looked at him, and I said, "I had this dream," and I told him what it was, and he started laughing. And I was like, "What are you laughing about?" "It was a sword. I'm going to die. It's a weapon of war, right? It's a weapon of death, right? This is not funny." And he just got tickled with me, and he said, "I'll tell you what, I'm going to explain a little of this to you." And he did, the sword of the Spirit. And then he sent me to a church. It was a Foursquare church called Victory Christian Fellowship there in Clovis. And I started a youth group there, and my journey with Christ began. A few weeks after that dream, I came home from school, and my dad was hanging shelves in my bedroom. And I asked him what he was doing because it just shocked me. And he said, "I've had these in the garage. They're in the way. I need to go ahead and just hang them up or put them up. And I was like, "Okay." And I just walked away because I didn't know what to think. And a few weeks after that, some friends from Chino, LA came up. They used to own a liquor store. They used to party with my parents out at the river all the time. Every summer, I was raised with their kids. Becky and Lori O'Reilly, and Bruce and Becky were their parents. Well, they showed up at the house out of nowhere and knocked on the door. I answered the door, and I was so happy to see them because I miss them. Normally, I only get to spend about 6 weeks out of the summer with them. And I was very surprised. They came in, and my parents greeted them, and they announced that they were there to go to Selland Arena there in Fresno to a Kenneth Copeland convention. And my parents stopped them right there and said, you don't come here and start that. And they said, "Well, we've been born again, and we wanted to come and share with you." And my parents didn't want anything to do with it. But they asked very boldly if they could take me to Selland Arena with them. And my parents said yes. So I went. I was born again and saved. And I was overwhelmed, but came home with them. And Lori had a gift for me. And I opened the box, and it was gold lettered Bibles. And I couldn't deny anything else ever again, that he was real and that he reached in the middle of my home and picked me up. I'm sorry I'm crying, but every time I think about this, but he just plucked me out of the middle of it and said, "You're mine." And I gladly was his because that's what shaped the rest of my life. It's what got me through my faith, being able to lean on our Lord through troubled times, slipping, falling, Him picking me back up and dusting me off again many, many, many countless times. And that's what shaped that Land of Illusion.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much. He knew he was giving you what you needed because of what you told us before. That's amazing. Wow. Thank you.
That to me has to be one of the most powerful testimonies I've ever heard about faith. And we all have that powerful story to tell, right, guys? Anybody who's walked through life's trials or troubles or tribulations um, have that same story, just with a different theme, different plot, different settings. We all have that story. So thank you for being vulnerable, Jell, and sharing that, because that's going to stick with me. I'll tell you that. Um, Shell, my question for you, pivoting a little bit, you've got 52, 53,000 followers at this point, right? And I don't know if it's the eye twitch. I don't know if it's the experience. I don't know if it's your radio background. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, when you speak, people like to listen to you, and people do listen to you. And my question is not too deep, right? But do you feel that weight when you go on these spaces and you have these heavy hitters? And how do you kind of stay grounded when you can see that, as many as 30,000 people have been in spaces, right? And you're there, you're wrangling all those hands. How do you stay grounded and how do you deal with the weight of that?
Well, I really didn't know that I had any kind of talent for this, to be honest with you, until I met Tim Young and Jason Miller. They pushed me and started me. But Tim Young mentored me, and I spent 6 years on Sirius XM radio, sidekicking him on the David Webb show and Stacy on the Right. He taught me so much. He really did, and I became very comfortable because he was so comfortable. He can be hard at times, right? But he always said, "Shell, you're the only one that's ever listened to me. You're going to go far." He even came up during a live show on Sirius XM with my name, Shell Shocked, to spell it with the play on my name, Shell. So that's where all of that came from. And I became familiar with many, many people because Jason Miller invited me to New York City for 3 days. And I got to spend all 3 days with very, very big hitters from the West Wing itself. And I became comfortable with them and realized that face to face, they're just like me. They're just us. Okay. They're not that they're in positions that maybe we don't hold. They're doing jobs maybe we don't know how to do. They take leadership roles that maybe we don't have the opportunity to take in that, respect, but they're just us. I became very comfortable on a platform named Getter and began to excel there and was promoted by some great people. And I just kind of fell into a bucket of crap and came out smelling like a rose and learned a lot. And then that's how I came to be here. Now, how I handle any crowd in any space is I worry about the 12 mics on the stage and nothing else. The audience doesn't bother you. They don't make a difference. You concentrate on the conversation. You learn how to drive. You learn how to segue. You learn how to ask the correct questions. And you learn to get them to trust you. So they open up and they tell you things that maybe they wouldn't normally do because you control the situation. You don't let anybody drop a grenade in the middle of that room or space, and you allow them to speak freely, openly, and comfortably. And that's how I do it.
Well, Shell, thank you. So thank you so much for that. But so some of the most difficult people you've probably ever met are veterans, because you all know that we have a very strong opinion about a whole lot of things, especially if you start talking bad about the USA or you start talking bad about the US military or our particular branch of service. So I know that you're a huge supporter of veterans out there, that you work with Grunt Style. So, how did that all come about? And have you always been a big supporter of veterans, or did you meet somebody? Or can you tell us about what shaped your support? Because you're one of the strongest supporter of veterans that I've heard of. So,
Well, what shaped that is my dad is a Navy veteran. My sister is an Army veteran. She went to West Point and retired her Army career as a lieutenant colonel. And I revered them so much because I understood what they were fighting for, what they were there for, what they signed that dotted line for. As a very young person, I was only 14 when my sister's 3 years ahead of me when she went to West Point in 1982. I knew how hard it was for her because there wasn't a lot of women in the academy. I heard the phone calls in the middle of the night. I heard how hard she worked. And then I saw her excel, and I was just so proud to call her my sister. And to see that my dad, even at a Navy, Army Navy game, her plebe year would stand on the Navy side and support. I just love them both so much, and they did so much for our country, whether they knew it or not. My sister is now a level 1 trauma unit doctor and has been for many, many years. But when I met Grunstyle, it was Chad Caton, the guy you know as I'm Fired Up. He introduced me to Grunstyle and said, I gotta get you together with these guys because they wanted to bring their messaging and everything to spaces. And I mean, right on board. And we've developed a fantastic relationship. Love them dearly. And they tend to spoil me with gift baskets. It's pretty cool. And they also brought me to witness my first National Veterans Parade. Uh, there in Washington, D.C. And I got to experience everything with my favorite people, Grunt Style. It was awesome. And I got to see General Flynn, and I got to see Chad and Elizabeth, and I got to see Ivan and everybody. And I know Ivan's getting a bad rap right now, you guys, but I did get to see him. But um, my reverence for the warriors of this country. I don't even know how to put it in words, to be honest with you, because they allowed me and my children and my grandchildren to sleep at night and plan a day, the next day comfortably, knowingly that we're safe and that we're in their hands and they have us, right? They have us. That's what they're doing. A lot of people don't understand that. They think they just go off and fight these wars. No, they're not just fighting a war. They're not just National Guardsmen or weekend warriors. They're highly trained individuals that keep us and our country safe and comfortable. And that's love. That's the purest form of love to me. And that's why I revere them so much.
well, thank you so much for Shell. And I know I speak for pretty much all the veterans out there that we appreciate all that you've done for veterans and the sacrifices and struggles that veterans have when they come home, having seen things that are unimaginable to so many, that the help that all those different organizations you work with to help them struggle through the post-traumatic stress or their combat experiences or other horrible things that they may have seen that are unimaginable to most of the 99% of Americans who've never served. So we just appreciate you so much for the support you do and all those different organizations. So we're just going to keep going so that no one gets left behind, so that we get that number of people that feel like they're by themselves down to zero until we can make our world better. So thank you again for so much for that. And I'll hand it over to Land.
Well said, well said. So, as far as spaces goes, you come across, and this is a good thing. You come across as very bold and composed in spaces. What's something people don't see, and what challenges have shaped you, who you are today with that?
Well,
Because I know you meet a lot of people.
I do. I do. We all do, right? We're all
Yeah.
in the spaces, whether you're on a mic or you're in the audience, you meet them. You get to experience them, and that's what I love about the spaces is, you know, I think the way I got bold was I was tired of being talked over and kicked around, and I became kind of a hammer, right? Because I think that etiquette in a space is extremely important. When people talk over each other or yell at each other and there's this brawl, and you got four mics open up, people are screaming, it completely loses the value of the conversation that you're trying to have. So to control that, I got bold and was just putting my foot down and saying, we're not having this. These are my guests. I don't care if it's the president of the United States on a mic as my guest, or it's Margot or G or Rebel or anyone. You are my guest. They are not going to treat you that way. Period. Have some respect. Now, when it comes to the colonel, he's the one that set those rules. So I have to apply those rules in the space and be very tough because it is a different type of space. It is a live television broadcast. So I cannot let anyone interrupt that broadcast. I had a colonel at one time who I thought, well, I'll bring him on the stage during the broadcast, right? Because he's a colonel, right? He would respect this, right? No. He openly attacked the colonel live on his television show. He was very, very raunchy. It is a Christian network on World YouTube. Brandon House owns that network and is the colonel and my boss. So I had to remove him immediately. And woo, what repercussions from that. But when you hear that colonel's voice on the other side of the phone after the show, when he calls you, he is not happy about what has happened. You tend to get pretty tough, you know, and you tend not to let anybody cross those lines again because they're not getting that colonel voice. They're getting me berating them in a space and well, I like to drag them a little bit and really embarrass them, but just to encourage people not to do it again. It's all in the goodness of my heart to keep you from getting in trouble. But I had to learn it that way, and I've worked with him for many years since the Red Voice Media days, and I've enjoyed every step of my journey with Colonel Maness. And let me tell you something, I adore that man. I respect him more than most walking this earth right now. I really do. You gotta love his honesty, his own boldness, which gave me mine. And, he just mentored me along the way as well. We've had fantastic personal phone calls where he's been very encouraging and, absolutely love working for that man. I couldn't have asked for a better job, I promise you. As far as the other spaces, I love interacting. I love learning about everyone. I'm not interested in what I'm doing. I want to know what you're doing. I got a nose problem. I'll just say it, right? And my mouth may overload my rear end every once in a while when I get a little testy. But other than that, I mean, what an experience, right? It's been great here on Spaces.
Thank you. That's great. You make me laugh.
Yeah, it's interesting the people that you get to interact with, and back in 24 when I was like, I wonder if I could pull something off. I wonder if I can get this person in the space, right? And sometimes it's just a matter of asking, right? But then sometimes you get what you ask for, I guess, right? So, Shell, we only got a couple more questions for you. Then we want to open it up for audience questions. Come up and share a Shell story that's your favorite story. Let's get the audience involved in this, so it's not just us, right? Um, but really, this question to me is probably, in my opinion, a little bit profound, right? Because I've asked myself later in life my my own why question, if you will. This is about like what drives you. And when I think about what drives me, right, it's that combination of that purpose and the sense of responsibility. And I see this sense of responsibility in you, Shell, in spaces. You've got a sense of responsibility to our vets, which we already talked about. You've got a profound sense, though, of commitment to this country. And I feel like if I answered that question for you, that would be my answer, but I want to know what your answer is. What actually drives you to get up every single day and keep coming back to the mic day in and day out? Not a paycheck, because I know you're not driven by a paycheck. I know you're driven by something else. And I really want you to get to the heart of what that is, because I think that at the core of who we are as humans, that we all have this calling in life and this something that drives us. So if you can think about that for a second and tell us what drives you and what keeps you coming back every day.
Ooh, excuse me. I will give you my favorite quote. I'm a huge Dante fan, and I think you'll understand it when I read you this quote. What drives me? It is the most profound thing that I've ever read, and it is what motivates me and made me understand um, my personal moral responsibility for our country. Dante says, "The darkest places in hell are reserved for those who maintain their neutrality in times of moral crisis." That spoke so much volume to me that I cannot do anything but be relentless to save this country, and also my family, my children, my grandchildren, my future great grandchildren, and your families and grandchildren. Everything. It drives me every single day. I wake up. I can't wait for the next conversation. I can't wait for my next learning experience. And I can't wait for the next time I can encourage somebody, anybody, to stand up. Stop treating it like it's a spectator sport. You have to have these types of morals for your country. Fight for it. It is not something we can lose. Ever, ever, ever. For 250 years now, we've had people fighting for this country. And I've seen its decline because less and less are motivated to do so. I want to give that motivation back to you. I want to give you a big old injection of patriotism again, because we've lost our patriotism. We've lost our national pride. I'm proud of this country. I'm proud of each and every one who's in this space. I'm proud of each and every one who grabs a mic and advocates it themselves. We need to fight. We cannot
I
relent.
can't. I can't disagree. I can't agree with you anymore. I don't know a better way to put it. And I kind of felt like you would say something profound there. And so everybody, at the top on the nest, I took some time and I wrote an article about Shell. And one of the questions that we kind of DM'd about before this space was really what was the space that she's most proud of, right? And to me, it's a big pressure moment in life. We all have these pressure points and things that test us in life, right? And you've been in some pretty intense spaces, Shell, some pretty intense ones. I've seen them, and I think a lot of people have too. But what about that space made it your favorite, right? And when was that the moment where you said, "Okay, all right, this is real now for me, and I know that this is what I was meant to do"? And how did you handle that? And then we've got one more question, and we're turning it over to audience.
Well, first of all, I'm not gonna lie. It's my favorite space because I broke a X record and nobody else has equaled it yet. So I had 6 sitting members of Congress on my stage. I didn't invite them, they just showed up. They liked my show, and it gave me a big boost of, drive to keep going, to keep doing it. They trusted me. They trusted the crew that was in there with Pirate Radio. They trusted that they could come in and speak freely with us. And it was breaking news. They wanted to bring it to our show. So they told us that Jim Jordan the next morning was going to step out of the speaker's race on the floor of the House. And then they introduced us to Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson, everybody kept saying, "Who is Mike Johnson? Who is this guy?" But we had Byron Donalds, George Santos, Matt Gates, Ronnie Jackson, Lauren Boebert, Mike Johnson, and then many more in the audience that never even got on the mic, congressmen. But they were there to let us know that's who they wanted. And I was very proud and I was very excited because they knew my name, right? The first time I got a shout out on Tucker Carlson was very exciting for me. I thought to myself, Tucker Carlson knows my name. Holy smokes, right? How did this happen? But, you know, the reason that I loved that space so much wasn't the 30,000 people in there. It was the fact that these congressmen and women came in to talk to us. They wanted the pulse of the nation. They wanted to break news. They wanted to tell us what they were going to do. They wanted us to be comfortable with it. And of course, now we're not real comfortable with it. We're pushing Speaker Johnson to the max, right? But he is a good Christian man. He loves his wife and his family. He is doing the best job that he can do. It's his first rodeo, guys. So we try to give him grace, and we just keep rooting for the country because this is what we have to deal with. So we work with it, right? But that was my favorite part of that space was that they trusted us to come in and talk to the nation.
I love that.
That's amazing, Michelle. I just wanted to ask one more question, and then we'll let some of our audience ask you some questions here. So, as a reminder, just raise your hand if you want to take a mic. Then please just come up and ask a question. Anybody's welcome. We went over the rules before, but just please come on up. We'd love to have you. So, okay. So, the last question for you, Michelle. So, if someone just came on X on Shell Shock for the very first time, what do you want that listener or that person to come across? What do you want them to feel like? And what do you hope that they're going to take away from a show that they're listening to you speak at?
Well, first, I want them to understand that this is a factual conversation. We don't do, innuendos, third party, you know, uh, information, anything like that. We bring the receipts. I want them to understand that they can trust us with any breaking news or things that maybe we're speaking about when it comes to any subject on the planet, especially politically. Uh, we worked hard to get a good reputation, and I want them to see that reputation standing out front, right? I want them to know that they're in the right place for the right information and a little fun because I like to have some fun. I want them to know I'm a jokester. I do like to cut up every once in a while, but I want them to understand the seriousness of the conversations and how important they are. That we're talking to each other, and that we're working with each other. The unity of the spaces and the speakers, and even if we disagree, that we can come to that point of we agree to disagree and move on. I like to segue the conversation and move it forward. I don't like anything spinning, right? Repetitiveness or beating a dead horse is not how you get messaging out there. It's important to me that they come in and they're comfortable with the conversation. They know that I'm going to read the bubble, read their questions, even though they don't have a mic, and that every single one of them are like a little piece of gold to me. They mean so much, especially when they come in to help support whoever's on that stage, whether it be myself or anyone else who's bringing them the best of their ability to get this country back to where we want it to be.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. I mean, you'll hear me saying it a lot that two wrongs never make a right. And we always try and follow the golden rule to treat others as we want to be treated, no matter who they are, whether we agree with their politics or not, that we're all Americans and we're all people who love this country and we can support each other. We can respectfully disagree and have those conversations and not things that kindergartners do all the time, which so often we do.
Fido, I've resorted to that before. I'm not gonna lie. Some people they'll get me a little testy or challenge me or throw some trope at one of my friends, And I'm gonna jump on a mic and I'm gonna tell you how the cow eats the cabbage. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very bold that way, and I'm the same way in person as I am right here on this mic. Don't test me, don't insult people, and don't go after my family, my crew, right? My tribe means everything to me. If you're going to come in and you're going to start talking some shade on my family, you're going to get some and worse right back. Someone once told me that I had the uncanny ability to cut someone's throat and they'll smile and tell me thank you while they're bleeding out. And I like that about me. I'm not going to lie.
I love it.
Absolutely. We have some strong, amazing women. Lan, our co host, being one of those amazing women when Iron and I agreed to do this show. And Lan was going to come on, and she was not quite sure. We needed a strong woman to come on and help us with all these questions so that we don't get run over by all these strong women around here. Just our wives. That's the only women in our lives that can actually make that happen. So,
Are you
but
saying that you're making land kind of a shield for us, Fido? That's kind of what I hear you saying right now. But maybe I'm maybe I'm
uh,
misreading you.
only occasionally,
Maybe
whenever we say something that's extraordinarily sexist or
behind
mansplaining to
every strong
everyone.
man is a stronger woman, right? That's what you're saying. Yeah.
My wife is
Quit
Greek,
while
so
you're
she likes
ahead,
to
both
say
of
that
you.
she's the
Both
neck.
of you, quit while you're ahead.
Oh, good times. Well, hey guys, this is the audience portion. So I know there's people in this audience that know Shell very well. And I really would like you to come up and either ask Shell a question you've never thought about asking her before, share a Shell story. I have one. If you don't, or just come up and say something kind to continue encouraging Shell to do what she does best every day.
I think we had some hands up. I'm not sure who was first, but I saw Matt for a while ago, and I see Brandy, but I don't know if there's any others because you know how this app can be. So go ahead.
Yeah, it gets a little testy. So Matt first, is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Matt.
First of all, as for what you guys just said, as long as your wives don't hear, what y'all were just saying, and Land, as long as your husband doesn't hear, it's all right. But anyway,
Absolutely.
so yeah, you're getting as long as you're not getting the raw end of the stick there. But anyway, um, I do have a shell story real quick because just like you guys, she actually helped me when I was getting started. Her and Brandy did too, but it also Shell kind of brought me down from when I was headed on an ego trip to nowhere, and looking back on that particular space, it really showed. And I don't remember everything Shell said to me. We talked on the phone for and an hour plus actually, and it was it was just what I needed to be brought down from, like I said, what was an ego trip to nowhere. And I look back on that, and whenever because Shell talked about what kept her grounded, it's the same thing that keeps myself grounded, is my faith, because we're only here for a little while, both in this life and otherwise. So um, there's a song that says that there's a day we're born and a day we pass. In between is just a dash. Uh, and so, what are you going to do with that little line that's going to be there when it's all said and done? And um, you don't and you don't have nothing left but the life you've lived. So Shell, I just want to thank you first of all, and encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, because uh, no none of us know when we're going to die, and we also don't know how much time we've got to do what God has called us to. So keep doing what you're doing, my friend.
Well, thank you,
Amen to
Matt.
that.
And I will. I'm not giving up anytime soon. I got to tell you a little story about Matt. Uh, I was coming in hot from California, crossed that Arizona line and scoped right on through there, and hit that New Mexico state line, and didn't realize that the speed limit had dropped. And I was talking to Matt on the phone. He had just finished a space and called me because I was listening. and we were discussing, and I got pulled over and got a ticket while Matt was on the phone and listened to everything. So there's that too. So Matt and I have gone through a few things together.
It's true. It's true. There was something that happened recently where I was like the first one on stage in the Colonel show, and Shell of all the things she could have said, because she could have said worse. Shell was like, "Matt, you are surrounded by women." I'm like, "Yeah, when am I not?" But anyway, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt, for coming up. Whose hand is next, Land?
It's Brandy, and then it's Miss G.
Hello, hello. Thank you for
Hey,
letting me
Brandy.
up. How are y'all? So I'm excited to get up here and ask this question. Actually, I had one a minute ago, but she answered it, so I've formed another one. Because when there are people that you look up to with what you do, and I do look up to Shell, I don't know that she's ever heard me share this, and I don't know that I have in a space. I look up to her for the things you just explained about what is so awesome about the spaces that she holds and how she controls them and how just the whole gamut of it I love. And so I myself have tried to start doing some of the things she does. I've been hanging out more, listening to her talk, trying to shape up things I do because it's hard when you want to make sure you get your message out, but you also have that tendency to, oh, well, it's just this one person. I'm going to give them a mic, and boom, they will take over the entire thing. So she has always been someone that I've looked to for that guidance. And I love the way she does her spaces. Also, I love how her guest, typically, no matter who she's hosting for, whether she's doing ChelleShocked, whether it's Rob Maness Show, the guests have amazing backgrounds. Like, it's not just anyone that you're going to listen to. And I love that as well. And she stands up for what she believes in. And I was that really strong chick years ago, and I'm finding my footing in that again. It's hard to do that when you're on an app that you aren't used to navigating. What's funny to seeing is that we actually came on X as far as that account for you, Shell, at the same time, but you like have a whole lot more experience with it. So I love watching you. I love what you do. Please do not stop. And I know you won't. But here's my question, because I'm excited to hear this answer. Who, and please, anybody, don't get butthurt if you were a guest on Shell Shocked or anything like that and she doesn't say your name. But I'm truly, honestly curious because as a host, I know that sometimes we have these people that we want to ask to be a guest. And when they do accept, it's an over the top excitement to get them in there. Who would that be for you and why? Thank you.
Are you meaning a guest I haven't had
No,
yet?
one you have had, been able to land the invitation and had the space. Well, even if they accepted and you just hadn't had it yet, but someone that said yes.
General Flynn. Two, actually, and Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh was an exceptional interview. I loved it. We helped bring on Spaces, the Dragon's Prophecy, his latest documentary. Um, he stayed an hour and a half with us. That is not normal, Dinesh, but we had a great conversation, and it was just wonderful to have him spend that much time with us, go through the aspects of the movie, what drove him to do the movie, and of course the Gaza war. So that was pretty cool for me. General Flynn, being requested by him to premiere the movie, deliver the truth, whatever the cost, was also very exciting for me. Not only has he been a guest to me previously, but just having him say, Shell runs a tight ship, I want her to do it, was just like, whoo, that's awesome. So those are going to have to be my favorites right there. It kind of doesn't get any better than that for me, although I've had some pretty big guests, on my show. I'm going to have to say those are some of my top favorites.
Those are
I can
awesome picks. Thank you.
I can tell you, Shell, that we now have that in common because on Veterans Day 2024, Flynn came and talked, and you were there in that conversation. I remember that. I was truly nervous the day, probably the entire week before that show. But yeah, General Flynn's definitely a good one. All right, I think G's next land. Is that correct?
That's correct. And then I ain't afraid no goats. And we also have two requests. If two people don't mind dropping down, or if you want me to choose two people, but I don't like doing that. So anyway, yes, let's go with Mrs. G.
Um, Hi everybody. Sorry if I'm not seeming like myself. Got a headache, but I couldn't miss out on an opportunity to speak about my friend Shell, who when I don't know, to me, getting to know people, I kind of read them. It's a vibe thing, and the first time I heard her, I was like, "Oh, I like this chick." I could see, I'm just saying, you'll know both of us. You can see the vibe, the click, and she was just so gracious. And she was running. Here's where I really got to know her. She was running the show for Chad Caton, and he used to, like the Colonel Maness space. It was a live show. It was timed, so when he went to the audience, and when or she went to the audience, you had to adhere to the rules of the show, and she ran it so well. I was so impressed. She just got a way of, I actually kind of learned a lot from her. Not that I wanted to learn, just being around her, because I just go in spaces and, participate. It was never my intention to run spaces, and it never will be. I'll co-host for, spaces that I love if they need, and am dedicated to the Punch Bowl. But a lot of what I, do in the Punch Bowl, I've learned from people like Shell. Shell has definitely been a, bright point in how to run a space and keep a conversation going. Who to let speak, and not that let speak, but will just drown out a conversation or kill it, and who will keep it alive, and how to keep a conversation going. So a lot I learned from her, but what I like about Shell is she will give anyone the opportunity to speak. Doesn't matter how many followers you have. Shell will give you an opportunity, let you be heard, and runs a tight ship and always makes people feel welcomed. It doesn't matter who you are welcome, but if you cross her, and I do mean this, and this is what I like about Shell, because I'm the same way. If you cross her, you try and, mess up what she's got going in space, she's going to put you in your place, whether politely or firmly, or, just have to rip you a new one. So we kind of vibe on that level, and then it went to another level. And I say this with love and respect, because there's not a few people I will say this out loud. I will run into a brick wall for, and Shell is one of them. Shell is one of those people that if she's your friend, she is your friend. That's it. You don't owe her anything. She will be there for you. She is loyal, and you don't have to ask her. She just shows up, and that's what she did for me. And I'm just somebody that hung out with her in spaces and got along and laughed and whatever. And she was just one of those amazing people that, hey, you good? Or I not even asking, like just stand out there. All of a sudden, you see her saying, this ain't happening. This is my girl, and I got you. And I just, again, I love her for it. I think she has one of the biggest hearts, bigger, definitely bigger than mine. Like, don't look at me. Um, I'm not as gracious and as kind and as loving, but the respect I have for it's unexplainable. Just for how not only how she moves about her business, how she promotes so many other people, that I've gotten to know because of her, because she's promoted them. She's just very selfless. She's funny. She's fierce. I just love her, and I couldn't miss an opportunity to share that with you all. In case you didn't know, She is really, there's good people out there, and then there's really good humans, and that's my girl Shell. So I love you, Shell. You know I love you. I'll always have your back, like you have mine, and I hope to keep on learning from you and following you around.
Gee, you're gonna make me cry.
Oh, don't do it. You'll mess your mascara.
Right, right. I love you. I'd run through a brick wall for you, honey. One morning, somebody was trying to mess with me, and G and Margot, they got a little feisty about it, and they said they'd wear orange jumpsuits for me. So I know my girls love me. They're wonderful, and I feel the same way about you, Miss G. I've learned a lot from you too, sweetheart. And the one thing that I've learned about you is love, right is right, and wrong is wrong. And thank you for teaching me those things as well.
All right. I
Thanks.
think,
All right,
yeah, go ahead,
Michelle.
Fido. You got it.
We got about three more hands, so we might go just a little bit long tonight. But so we got three more people. So we got I Ain't first, and then Grizzly and Jim Bob, and then we'll probably have to call it a night for tonight. And then everyone, please come up. We love to have people with hands. We just are trying to be respectful of everyone's time tonight. So go ahead. I ain't afraid of no goats.
Thank you, Liberty. Hey, Land, Fido. Hey, Shell. I probably wouldn't even have come up here except for something you said, I don't know, 10 minutes ago or something. You're talking about cutting loose and you're a regular person, you want to you like to cut loose. And, I've kind of heard that, in Alan's space. I don't get to your regular spaces as much anymore, but I do hear you pop over there every once in a while, and it's cool to hear that side, right? So I just wanted to come up and say hey, and it's cool to hear people celebrating you. We always said I'll bury a body with you, and if we pick the right people, we didn't have to wear the jumpsuits.
I like that. I like that
That's
a lot.
hilarious.
Thank
Talk about knowing where the bodies are buried.
Matt, you tell any more of my secrets, I'll get Fido or Land to remove you from this space.
Yes, we will do it at a moment's notice with no eye twitching in tonight's space. We're designed for no eye twitching.
I'm just picking at him. I'm just picking at him.
Oh, she already knows I'm not going to remove anybody telling us good stuff about her.
Yes, we asked for the truth and nothing but the truth tonight, Shell. All right, I think we got Jim Bob next. Is that right? Do I have the hands right? Land.
Sorry, I was talking to a closed mic.
Oh, that's
Yes,
right. All right, Jim Bob next, and then I think we had one more hand.
Grizzly. I didn't skip Grizzly, did I?
No, I think Jim Bob, then we'll go to Grizzly, and then we'll start rapping.
All right, cool. Hey, Shell, long time listener, first time caller. I'm just kidding. Shell, I've been riding backseat for you for quite a while now. Getting to hear who the guests are, a couple of days, sometimes a week or 2 weeks in advance. Sometimes Shell just blows me away. She'll send me a text and she'll go, "You never guess who we're getting." And then she'll tell me, and I'm like, "No way. Serious?" She's like, "Yep. It's a heart attack." This has happened over and over and over again. Shell already touched on a couple bangers of spaces. There's one that there's another one that sticks out to me, which is Nick Searcy. I think that space was pretty phenomenal. Nick Searcy turned out to be a really down to earth guy and just hung out with us and answered all the questions. What a great guy. Even Hollywood questions, he entertained those and stuck around. But it's always a ride with Shell, 100%. And I personally wouldn't have it any other way. Just my only thing is she should have 150,000 followers instead of 50,000. But that's just my piece.
Now, Jim Bob, I've told you before, doesn't matter how many followers you have, it's who's following you that counts. And I have some doozies, guys. Damn proud of it, too.
As you should be. And so, really quick before we go to Grizzly, we did have a couple comments down in the purple pill. So, if you're not the person to come up and speak or just don't feel comfortable in spaces, feel free to share a memory about Shell and the purple pill. We're gonna have.
May I
We're
say
gonna.
just one
Yeah,
more
go ahead,
thing?
Shell.
Just one more thing. Jim Bob doesn't ride back seat. He stands next to me in every one of those spaces. Don't listen to him when he says those things. There's never a back seat. All right. He walks through the fire with me, right next to me, in every one of those spaces, every one of the conversations, confrontations, whatever may happen. He's there. Sick, healthy, doesn't matter. The man is loyal to the bone, and I couldn't have asked for a better co-host.
That's awesome, Shell. Very awesome. Let me read one more thing, and anybody else who wants to comment in the pill, Shell will be able to read it after the space. But I do see that Grandma Kate said it's Shell's voice. There is a comforting feeling that calms you down with a little heart emoji. So just a comment someone made about you. So go ahead, Grizzly.
Thanks, Iron. So yeah, I think Miss G pretty much nailed it. I have nothing but flowers for Shell. She's always humble and always like the whole thing with Jim Bob, right? Just lifting people up and uh, always making everybody feel welcome. So Shell, um, share with me what are the elements when you're planning a space? What is it that you know is going to be a great space, and what is it that you definitely don't want in your space? Like some of your spaces are interviews, and some of them are topic, right? Um, yeah. So do you have a preference, and what is it? What are the elements that you really look for when you?
The element I look for is a great conversation and a great education. That's what I really like when I do my spaces. The education is necessary. We have a lot of people out here that are getting, disservice, from their hosts. And I don't like that. I don't want to ever be that person that, doesn't give you that great conversation and education and your voice is important to me. That's the element of spaces that I love. Every voice is important, good or bad, agree or disagree. Every voice is important. Never forget that. It is our First Amendment right. That's why I like to rotate people on those spaces. And I'll tell you, I'm going to play that little shell game, and I'll move some people around. Don't get mad, but I'll bring you back because your voice is important. um the best elements that I really love is when you can kind of give a short lead to a guest, just a real short little, and why'd you do that? Or, a little quip or question, and they take off running. And I love it because you get more than you ever asked for with a short little lead. And some of the guests are just very high caliber. The way I like to uh, kind of gauge how my space may go is doing a pre-show interview. I will do a pre-show interview every single time. I never bring in a guest cold. I always do the pre-show interview. One of my best, I have to admit, scared the crap out of me, and that was Gunnery Sergeant Jessie Jane Duff. She scared me. I called her to do a pre-show interview, and she yelled at me because she was doing 3 hits on Newsmax, didn't have time to talk to me, and told me to talk to her the day of the show. And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she hung up on me. And I was like, well, that didn't go very well, but scared me. And I thought, I don't even want to do this interview anymore. I wanted to make James from Pirate Radio do the interview because this lady was tough, right? So I didn't even call her the day of the interview like she had requested. I just texted her and said, "You ready?" And she said, "Yeah." And I went from there, and that was it. I didn't even want to call her. It turned out to be one of the best conversations ever. She stayed with us for 5 hours. 5 hours. She talked to everyone. It didn't matter, what service, what branch of the service you were in. She had, a conversation with them, and went over all kinds of different things about memories, or how she became a gunnery sergeant, what she does in politics, President Trump, you named it. She gave it all. And I loved every minute of it. And that's how I like my spaces to go, Grizz. It's my favorite kind. What I don't want in a space, I'll tell you right now, a lot of negativity. You bring the negativity in and you start to bring my room down where they are no longer receptive to the education or the conversation, you're out. I'll smoke you off that stage. I'm not even going to fight with you. Whoops, you dropped. Must be a glitch. Oh, how sad. We're moving on. That's it. That's what I don't want in my space.
Thanks, Chell. Those are perfect things to share with people. I think we're going to take one more question. I know we've got a lot of hands up, but I think we want to go to, um, is it Allie or Susan? Fido, did you notice?
Allie. I think it was Allie who was up.
Well, thank you guys for hosting this space and for interviewing Shell. She is the person that's always interviewing other people. And it's just amazing to finally get Shell in the hot seat and actually get interviewed and asked questions herself. Um, I am fairly new to X as of a couple of years, but I met Shell through mutual friends and we have not turned back since. As you can tell by the space, there are numerous hands and we're going over on time just the sheer interest in asking her questions and knowing who she is and knowing her heart. And I have the unique privilege to go on a road trip with Shell all the way driving from Florida to Dallas for CPAC. And so this will be the first time I've met Shell in person. Really excited for this road trip. And just really getting to know Shell face to face. You can tell a lot about somebody by how they talk, who they surround themselves with. But we're going to be spending hours together in the car. It's going to be amazing. I'm sure there's going to be tons of stories, tons of videos and photos. And I just can't, I've told her, I can't imagine doing this road trip. I wouldn't, let me clarify, actually, I wouldn't do this road trip with anybody else. I was hesitant to even go to CPAC, but out of anyone that I could imagine myself going with, Shell is that person. It was meant to be. I was meant to cross multiple states with this woman. She's amazing. Her heart is just through and through, just the most honest and genuine heart I have ever encountered on this app. And I know, Shell, you like to do your pre-show interviews. I threw an interview at her, and she's like, "Okay, great, yeah, I'll interview this guy. When is it?" And I'm like, "Oh, in an hour." And she's like, "Okay, let's figure it out." And it ended up being U.S. Senate candidate Royce White. And it's just been a whirlwind ever since. Everything with Shell has always been an amazing experience. And like I said, I just cannot speak highly enough about this woman. And I'm just blessed to know her.
Oh, I can't wait either. Man, this is going to be epic. Wait for pictures. I'm going to get her in her most awkward moments. I'm going to blast it all over the internet. Now I'm playing. I would not do that to her. I hope she doesn't do it to me because I'm a short, fat, little, chunky girl. But, Allie, to hear you speak about me in that respect, it really humbles me because you are such a warrior. You know my situation with my grandchildren that I've adopted. You know the plight that those children are in, and you advocate more than anybody I've ever seen for children in my life, and that owns my heart. I couldn't. I don't even have the words to explain how I feel about you and the work that you do, or Margot, or G. You know, these ladies on this stage. It's not about me. It's about these warriors, these voices, these personalities that won't give up. They fight. They scrap. They get it done. They're in the middle of it. They're in the mix. their voices. Oh my God, how important! How important! We've got Margot. Look at Margot. I mean, she can walk in a room, you guys, and the entire room knows she's there. That's her presence, and that's the work
That
she's
is
done,
true.
and that is the personality that she is, because she's not going to take no stuff, right? She's going to walk in there like a boss lady. And I know they call me the boss lady. She's the real boss lady, okay? But I mean, and they'll look either lovingly or like, oh, thank God Margot's here, or they'll look at her with daggers shooting out of their eyes, like, oh my God, she's here, you know. And you got to respect that, respect completely. And it's fantastic to watch you ladies work. Watching the videos of Allie just advocating in front of committees of Congress for these children, the stories that she's had to tell, the things that she's had to experience to even get where she's at. She fought for it, you guys, and she fights for all of our children every single day. Gee, the food porn every day. You got to respect that, right? She gets hungry if you mention tacos. She gets hungry. She is the best personality. But when it comes to something serious, and you do want that 30,000 foot view, you better go to G, because she's got it for you. I promise. I love that you guys want to talk to me. But you ladies and gentlemen in this room, you mean more to me than anything ever. We're family. We're family, and we need to stay family. We need to stop the disruptions and the infighting and the he said, she said, and all this other stuff. It needs to stop, and we need to get to work like this group of people on this stage, because that's what really matters right now. I love you, ladies.
I love that, Shell, so much, and I love you really feel whenever you're in a space, especially on Punch Bowl in the morning, and even in your spaces that you have with Shell Shocked, right? When your friends come in that space, you everybody really feels it, right? And I hope this becomes a place where people come and we feel this family and the same camaraderie that you guys built. Because, quite frankly, Shell, you're the one that has continued inspiring me, as has Punch Bowl and G and Margot, to do this space, to do something that I don't think other people are doing, which is really looking at the human and the individual behind the account. And that's really what we're all about. And Shell, I am going to ask you really quick to transition us to closing, because I want to be respectful. I know you've got a trip to plan for and pack for and all kinds of things to get done and get ready for tomorrow. But if you can do us a solid and shout out all of your favorite spaces and those shows that are coming up in the very near future, I'd appreciate that. And then we have a quick note that we want to read to you from somebody that's very near and dear to you. We're going to close out in prayer and song, and we will see you all again next week after we announce our next space host. Is that okay with you?
That's perfectly
Awesome.
fine.
It wouldn't be a shell space
This
if we didn't have this at the end. You all know that.
my favorite spaces. Of course, you know it's the Punch Bowl. It is the best town square on the internet, guys. Never ever miss it. You've got these beautiful ladies running that show over there. Bishop, who's a warrior, a veteran, and someone that I highly respect. He is G's Quam, and I think he's all of ours too. But I love that because they give mics like I do. Everybody has a voice. Everybody can go in there and speak their piece. It's just a lovely, lovely place to be, and a great education in there as well. So don't miss that. 8 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, guys. Then you got the Rob Maness Show. Of course, it's one of my favorites, guys. And it's at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Thursday. No Fridays, guys, with Rob Maness, one of the best men, I think, that are walking this planet. And I hope you join me for that. Next week, we're off all week. He is traveling. And of course, Allie and I are also traveling. So we'll see you next Monday. And then, of course, the Daily Fix and all of the other ones. Main Street meets Wall Street with Jay Gatling, Stock Mom, and Roden. They're fantastic. Always a great conversation in there. And you got Secret America, the spinoff with Jack Danger and Jay Gatling. They've got, of course, Roger Stone tonight. I mean, come on, these guys are getting the work done, right? You gotta join them. They're fantastic. I like the little spaces. I'm gonna promote those, like the ones that Grizzly has. Frank, Joe Lanou. all of them, go in there and have that personal conversation. It's not always about politics. You can learn about everything, ice fishing, anything you want to talk about. You can cut up with each other. Laughter is the best medicine. And the one place that you're going to find that is the smaller spaces where it's a more intimate setting and more people there that, know how to relax and breathe a little bit, touch grass, get some sun. These people are doing it and they bring you right on back down to that level of calm after a long day of political jargon and intense news cycles. They're great. I hope you all join every one of these great people on here that host spaces and have those conversations. They're necessary, they're fun, and they're great to get to know each other.
Well, thank you, Shell, for that.
And Liberty X, I'm sorry, Liberty X, everybody knows Liberty X. Go
I
figure.
love it. I love it. I love it. We're only on episode 5 next week. So, really quick, Land is going to read a note that I solicited from someone that you love very much, Shell. And she's going to read that note to you. And then Fido is going to tell us who our guest is for next week. And then I'm going to close out the show in prayer for you and your continued work. And then Land handpicked a song out for you that she thinks is perfect for you. We'll see what you think. Go ahead, Land.
All right, Shell, I have a message for you. Shell is my right arm and a great friend. Every day I'm thankful she's on my team. We couldn't get the job done on the Rob Maness Show without her. Rob Maness. He is on a plane, as you know, and he wrote you that note, and I will post it for you. I have it all ready for you. So, yeah.
Oh,
So, Colonel Manus,
I'm kind of glad he's on the
he was,
plane though, because he said he was going to come in here and tell you all if I was lying.
yep.
So I'm glad he's on the
Well,
plane.
I will say, if he wasn't on a plane, he would have come in here and he would have said that to you himself. But we figured that would be the next best thing for us to read it to you on the space. So we wanted to let you know that he's thinking of you, that he loves you just as much as all of your other people that love you too. And so I'm going to go ahead really quick, and I'm going to close out with a prayer that's tied into your favorite Bible verse. You probably wondered why I asked you that, right? But I want everybody in the audience, really quick. Liberty X, we're here about putting our faith on our sleeve and making sure to live up to our Christian values. So picture this just a moment. We've got a young church in the bustling, sinful city of Corinth. It's full of talented believers, but torn by pride, jealousy, and arguments over who's got the flashiest spiritual gifts. Then the Apostle Paul, hearing all this chaos, writes them a letter. In the middle of teaching about gifts, he pauses and says, "But let me show you the best way of all." Then comes this beautiful truth. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self seeking. It is not angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. And Paul reminds them and us that without this selflessness, enduring love, and even the greatest gifts are nothing. It's the foundation that heals divisions, builds up the community, and reflects God's heart. In a world of competition and hurt, love is the greatest thing that lasts. And that's 1 Corinthians 13:4-7 with some context. So, Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for bringing this community together tonight. Thank you for the perfect love in 1 Corinthians 13 that never fails. Tonight, we lift up Shell and her future successes with Colonel Rob Maness, and in all the places she speaks her voice. Pour out your grace on her. Bless her voice, her generous heart, and most importantly, help her to continue to demonstrate everything you are to each of us, one of courage, of faith, of compassion for others. Keep her strong as she welcomes guests with kindness, builds real community, and shines light in tough conversations. May your love flow through every word she speaks, during every eye twitch. Continue healing hearts, encouraging the weary, and drawing people closer to you. Give her continued success, protection, and the joy you've called her to. In Jesus' name, we pray. Amen. Go ahead.
Faith, hope, and courage.